Hello and welcome to a brand new day, brand new broadcast on the station Voice of the People, VOPTV. My name is Moses Humphrey. Joining me on the show later is Esther Nwachukwu. Well, our two stories in focus today are the order by the Federal High Court in Abuja asking the federal government to release details of a Chinese loan the country has been servicing with no evidence of what it has been used to achieve. Well, that's our first topic for today. Plus, more than 70% of Nigerian food exports rejected abroad. Why is that, by the way? We will talk about this in the course of the show as well, where we do invite you to be part of everything that we do right here on VOP TV by liking and subscribing to our pages on YouTube. And on YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV. And on other social media platforms, VOP TV Live.
Now, the Federal High Court in Abuja has ordered the government of the outgoing President Muhammadu Buhari to account for the spending of $460 million Chinese loan to fund the failed Abuja closed-circuit television project. Now, the court also ordered the government to publish the total amount of money paid to Chinese and local companies and contractors, including specific details of the means of the companies and contractors and status of the implementation of the project. Now, the judge, Emeka Nwite, made the order in a judgment on Monday, 15th May, in a Freedom of Information suit filed by the Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP. SERAP shared details of the judgment with journalists in a statement on Sunday. Now, here it goes. The CCTV contract was awarded to a Chinese firm in 2010 by the Goodluck Jonathan administration. After then, Minister of Finance Olusegun Aganga led a delegation to sign a memorandum of understanding in Beijing, China. The project was to be funded from a $600 million financing portfolio secured as a soft credit loan. The loan had interest repayable in 10 years, after an initial 10 years of grace, and this is according to a report by a Nigerian newspaper, Punch. Now, while the project has failed to materialize, insecurity, which the CCTV project was meant to address, has worsened over the years. Amidst that, Nigeria continues to service the loan while the Buhari government that inherited the liability has refused to provide any information on the project. Now, in order for us to actually talk about this further, we have with us in the studio Barrister Evans Ufeli. Good morning, Barrister Evans.
Good morning. Thank you.
Okay, so one would actually think that the way things are being done in this government is ironical.
Yes.
Very ironical. Money was secured for a particular project. We are not saying the materialization of that project. CCTV, which is what monitoring. We're supposed to be combating insecurity. But it's actually on the rise. What exactly, where is the project? What is happening with the project? Nobody is giving any status report on the project. What was the money used for? No accountability. So it feels like this particular administration is used to utilizing funds without accounting for it.
Before you respond, let's welcome legal practitioner Eze Eluchie, who is joining us virtually. Let's be sure that he's online with us. Good morning to you.
No audio, not hearing anything.
All right. You seem to just be getting out of bed. Well, good to have you on the show. Go ahead, please.
Yes, first of all, let's backtrack. The contract was actually awarded by the Goodluck administration government, but
In 2010.
But in 2010. But government is a continuum. Okay, so during findings, the Minister for Finance was asked about the project, and she dismissed all questions that she doesn't know anything about the project. She only knew about the fact that because it was in the budget for servicing, okay, and the questions were asked, okay, during the defense of the budget, because budget is actually an executive bill, okay, but the National Assembly will not approve until they have done their scrutiny. It was during that process that it was raised, this particular project, where are the CCTV cameras? What have we achieve in this? And he said he doesn't know anything about it. But she said she doesn't know anything about the execution, the planning, and everything. But as a federal government was only interested in budgeting funds for that effect so that they can service and all that. And it tells you a lot about our system of government, that the leakages are enormous. First of all, where is the power that you're going to use to project that CCTV camera? You don't have electricity. Why don't you deploy that money to public health care? These are questions, okay? So right now, Serap went to court, okay? Filed a case asking for an order of mandamus for the government to give clarification under the Freedom of Information Act, which empower any citizen or organization to, when Serap wrote to the federal government, they did not respond. Okay, as usual, they didn't respond before Serap went to court. Now, when they got to court, they canvassed an argument that they never received any letter. But there's a principle in law which says that once a letter is posted, it's assumed that it has been delivered to the other side. Okay, so on that principle, the court held the federal government and said, no, there was a letter. And they had to move deeply into the judicial review of the case. And then the court found out that Serap had made a strong case against the federal government. And it made the order, which we are now discussing today. So the current president have just a few days to leave office. He is bound by law to, make those publications or order that the contractors, local and international, the Chinese, who was paid what, when, and how, and proper investigation into that's the order of the court. I didn't see in the judgment whether the court gave a time like within 1 month or within, I didn't see that, but there's a standing order of the court as we speak. So this administration must not end without the federal government's adherence to the court order. We know that this government have that predilection, that prognosis to disobey court order, which is why they have not also progressed in any way, okay? But this one is critical because that fund is tied to interest, okay? And we have not seen the delivery of the project. The interest rate is there. We have to budget subsequently for that. And then when you look at the loan that this government, had sourced from China between 2015 they got into power to date, is on the high side. It's in your report. I saw the figure there. It's somewhere there in the report, and you see that. And then when you see that, you look at.
It has accumulated. The interest on it has accumulated to about 110.31 billion naira.
110
in the past 2 years.
In the past, so you see that we have a huge case in our hands. So this is not a time where the court will make an order as regarding appropriation and we will take it with kid's glove. We need to dig into how this money was spent, who and who were responsible for, where's the contract, where's the delivery and all that. Because there is insecurity as worsening. Abuja is like any other state. Not too long ago, some persons broke into the prisons and released people. If we had that project delivered, perhaps intelligence would have intercepted that attack. So because of our inefficiency, now the citizens will have to pay for it. These are taxpayers' money. Citizens are asked questions.
The Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, said that she's not aware. She is aware that the loan is being serviced, but she's not aware precisely of that project. What does that actually say? Because it's her department. That is the money that they are servicing. So it means that it ought to be on her table what that money they're servicing is meant for. She ought to have asked questions. What project are we servicing? These are the things that falls within her department to investigate. And then if she's not getting any returns from it, and then they are servicing it, then she questions the right quarters. So the House had to invite her for her to respond to questions, and she literally brazenly said it there, that she's not aware of what the project is meant for. What does that mean?
Now, it means she's incompetent and her ministry, they are not delivering on the promise of democracy. Because in the Ministry of Finance, they have a department they call quality control. Because they sign off funds, they have a quality control system that monitors projects. Okay, so that department is different. Right? They're not doing anything. Okay, so right now, the court is putting the federal government to the edge to ensure that we have that funds. We know the source of, because the funds, you know, the loan, the interest rate is accumulating and all that, and there's no way. And if you look at the terms of that loan, it has to do with forfeiture of critical projects in the event of default.
And that's not the only. Sorry, Esther. That's not the only loan we've taken so far.
That's not the only loan.
That's not the only loan. So there are fears that if we're already failing to pay back, so there are fears that if we continue to fail to pay back the loan, the loan as it went due, we just might forfeit some of our assets as a nation.
The 10-year grace is already gone. You know, there's
Of
a
course,
10-year
yes,
grace.
yes.
That
To
is
pay
gone
back,
already.
yes.
Okay, so now we are in default. I think we are 2 years in
2 years in default.
Okay.
But that means expired in 2020.
Yes.
From
So that 2 years in default, now we're already at the verge of. But you know, the one that has to do with the railway, the loan that has to do with the railway, when Rotimi Amechi was doing that, we're talking about this clause, this sovereignty clause. I mean, he said no, there's no issue. I mean, this critical asset clause in the agreement, which we ought not to have, considered to. But we considered to all those agreements, okay? And now when it gets to the point where the Chinese will have to take back whatever it is they need to get from us by virtue of the agreements, we are going to be at the losing end, okay? That is why, not just this case, SERAP will institute more cases and individuals will institute more cases on different issues. There is a 21 billion naira hospital commissioned for the first family, second family, and all that.
At the Asura
I had asked, why don't you duplicate that too? They are not going to use it. Why don't you duplicate that too in other geopolitical zones, just in passing? So we don't have a government that is strategic, and we have limited resources. So we are facing, we have problems.
Barrister Evans Ufele.
No,
Barrister Ezeluchi, rather. Barrister Ezeluchi. I apologize.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm
Good
fine.
morning.
Good morning. Okay, so we're trying to understand a scenario where we have things like this happen in government, and most of them actually say they don't necessarily tell us what these monies are meant for or how they're meant to use these monies. So here is the unfortunate scenario, right? This letter that was anchored, because there was no detailed information provided by the minister Zainab Ahmed, the construction of the Code of Conduct Bureau, which of course might be another Chinese loan and could have been mismanaged or stolen. So SERAP also asked the minister to clarify 1.5 billion naira earmarked for the construction of the Code of Conduct Bureau. This is another money again. Now, the letter was ignored, prompting the organization to file another suit. Now, in defense to that letter from SERAP, the minister claimed that SERAP's letter dated the 25th of September 2019 was not brought to her attention and that all efforts to trace the letter were futile. This brings us to another picture where they tell us monkeys ate money, snakes swallowed jam papers or jam utensils or equipment meant for examinations. They give us bogus excuses for certain things not being in place or certain things not being available where they can make accountability for. If this were the UK, do you think this minister will still be in that seat she's occupying?
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate the role Sarah is playing in unveiling this monumental fraud across various facets of our economy. What this should tell us is that the so-called 30-something trillion naira debt this government claims it has added to the national debt profile, most of it is fake. Fake in the sense that these are funds that might have gone into private pockets, and then they throw it around during elections and all that stuff. There should be a holistic approach to this. Every day we keep on churning out different agencies which are involved in these fraudulent practices. But the reality is that this is how this Muhammadu Buhari government has operated. Is it the railway line projects like the other speaker in the studio had mentioned? Is it the hospitals? Is it whatever? But the saving grace is this: in every contract you enter into, fraud or corrupt practices is one critical tool that can be used to vitiate or nullify such contracts. If, for instance, Nigeria got into a contract with a Chinese firm to supply and install CCTVs to the tune of $600 million, and nothing was installed, nothing was supplied, it becomes criminal. It's a fraudulent activity on the side of even the Chinese firm. And there's absolutely no reason whatsoever why that kind of, why servicing that loan should resurface in our national budget, or even should be part of the national debt we have in this country. In China, where these loans were sourced from, corrupt practices is punished by death sentence when it occurs at high-level government, like ministers. And we have seen the Chinese government execute ministers. Even the vice president was executed not too long ago. So the loans gotten from China, if they are from corrupt means, we cannot be servicing it unless those who are servicing it also have a share in the servicing. I mean, the picture I'm trying to portray is that Nigeria is a crime scene. The debts that were incurred are fraudulent and non-existent. The servicing also is fraudulent and non-existent. And if we want to stop all this nonsense, there are legal channels at both the domestic and international levels to address it. And that's what I've just mentioned. Anywhere in the world, be it a contract you got into in the US or whatever, once you can establish that there was fraud at the basis of that contract is null and void. So it will now rest upon both the Chinese authorities and the Nigerian government to begin to pursue whoever stole whatsoever. If, for instance, the company that was supposed to supply CCTVs took CCTVs out of China, the Chinese government has to pursue that company and say, where did you take these things to? And for Nigeria, if those who paid out the money or who received the money to go and import these things, we don't see anything, the government can go after those criminals. But when you have a continuity of crime, when even the subsiding government partakes in the criminal endeavor, then nobody bothers about it. All they're trying to do is to service debt, service corruption, service fraud. That is the sorry state we have in Nigeria. But I only see that servicing of criminality continuing because the next government that's supposed to come in by May 29th is also a chip of this block.
Barrister I want to ask you, why do you think it took this long? I mean, Serap filed in 2019. They filed in 2019, and it took up until when it was less than a week to, or about a week,
4 years
to the administration leaving office before we can get a court to say, okay, government, make account of monies spent from loans that you've taken. Why did it take this long?
There are two reasons. One, which one of them is that we have a very jaundiced legal process where court processes take unnecessarily too long. We already have the election petition taking over 100 and something days. Whilst in other clients, this is a contractual agreement. The facts are there. Within 2-3 days, you can finish and dispense with it. That is one of the reasons, the jaundiced judicial process. The second one is perhaps the judge himself did not want to be victimized. So he had to wait until maybe, okay, these chaps are already going. Let me now say what I have to say, which is the truth. So these are the two critical factors which I think would have played in the 4-year gap. But several of these applications under the Information Act are pending. And then what are you going to do with it? There are so many of them. That's why I think the better approach is a holistic investigation into the entire debt profile. And I assure you, most of the 37 trillion naira, which is claimed to be owed by this government, which the next government in Nigeria will be servicing, are fictitious and fictitious loans which can be vitiated if any government is serious about it. And that's what we should be aiming at. This government is already gone, and this loan, like I understand, was not incurred by this present regime,
yes,
but they've been servicing it for the past 8 years. So we should be very wary of what we are getting into. And at the end of the day, who suffers all this? It is you and I, the Nigerian. Our children will be flogged with paying these fictitious
All right.
debts
Okay.
for services not rendered a very long time.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Eluche. Well, I come to you now, Barrister Ufeli. Now, let's look at the nature of the loans Nigeria has taken from China. When we take these loans, part of the agreement is that Chinese companies domiciled in Nigeria will provide 70%
Yeah.
of infrastructure. How does that help our own companies grow?
It doesn't help our own companies grow, and the
What should we
Chinese
do?
insist on.
They
Because
insist.
because you see, whenever you anywhere you find people or individuals or companies taking loans, you will be susceptible to so many things because you want the funds. Okay, so many conditions to be given. So I mean, these loans have not in any way benefited us, our economy, or whatsoever. Look at the railway. The Chinese did the job and all that, and other projects. The Chinese did the job. So it's even good that since this contract was awarded, and according to my learned colleague, this contract was awarded but was never executed. It's even good that the Chinese are part of the execution. So it makes it easier to even vitiate the contract. Okay, so that because they will have to come and make
An account as
yes,
well.
give an account of how, because you want us now to pay back this loan, but you know that you did not provide anything. I don't want to jump the gun, but if actually there was execution, I mean, the Chinese should know because they didn't just give out money. Okay, there were some other engagement. Okay, so and if those engagements never tallied out, never played out, then we'll be looking at the case of conspiracy somewhere between the actors of the two nations or what actually they've done as regards this. This is not the first time. You remember during the 2012 subsidy probe and all that, when we discovered that people just, use a PowerPoint, design a document, fill in some, you take it to DPR approved, take it to NNPC, NNPC approved that you brought in fuel, you brought in PMX, nobody brought anything in. And it happened for years. So if this is part of it, then we are at the crossroad where this has to be dealt with.
All right. So yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We do hope that things like this will be dealt with and dealt with decisively, and Nigeria will be the better for it. I must say a very big thank you to you, Barrister Evans Ufeli and Barrister Eze Eluche. Well, we don't want to keep you longer because we do know that you have other engagements to attend to. So thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, we'll take a little break. When we come back, it will be NAFDAC saying that 70% of Nigerian food exports are rejected overseas. Now, that's a conversation that we'll be having in a short while. Stay with us.